Welcome to Gamma Radio with your host, Gil Mancha. This is my chronological discussion of the strongest one there is, The Incredible Hulk. Disclaimer, I will be actively getting and collecting issues as we go, and I'm trying to only cover issues that I have a physical copy of or are in a collected edition. I'm going to try to stray away from digital because I love physical media, but the Marvel Unlimited app would be a great way to keep up with the podcast. We'll of course start with his original self-titled comic. There's a few others, some TV shows, movies, and even some video games we can discuss. And trust me, I'd love to discuss those games down the line. Be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or preferred platform to get episodes as soon as they drop. While you're there, please leave a review so the show can be recommended to other comic book fans. In today's episode, Hulk once again meets Marvel's first family in the Fantastic Four Volume 1, Issue 25, The Hulk vs. the Thing. This issue was released on January 10th, 1964. Links will be in the podcast notes. Let's take a look back at what else was happening that day in history.
Duck can't cover, sports fans. He's hulking out.
The best-selling single in the US was There, I've Said It Again by Bobby Vinton, and in the UK was I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. The top of the box office was Charade. Children and teens were watching shows like The Adventures of Spunky and Tadpole, Noggin the Nog, The Bugs Bunny Show, and Top Cat. If you're a child, you're likely to be playing with toys like Chatter Telephone, Mousetrap, The Easy Bake Oven, and Army Men. There, I've Said It Again by Bobby Vinton is a pop cover of a 1941 song originally by Vaughn Monroe and his orchestra. This cover was released in 1963 and reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and remained for weeks, becoming the last US-made number 1 hit before the British invasion that was the Beatlemania. It also hit number 1 on Cashbox Top 100 and New Zealand's Lever Hit Parade. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles is a rock and roll pop song written by Lennon-McCartney in 1963. It was the first Beatles record to be made using 4-track recording equipment. This song would have gone straight to the top of the British record charts on release day in November had it not been blocked by the group's first million seller, She Loves You, their previous UK single. We'll discuss its impact on the US in the next episode. I Want to Hold Your Hand also peaked at number on Australia's Kent Music Report, Denmark's Top 20, Netherlands' Single Top 100, New Zealand's Lever Hit Parade, West German's Media Control Singles Chart, US Billboard Hot 100 and Cashbox Top 100, and difficult to pronounce charts in Norway and 2 in Sweden. The song would go on to be covered over a dozen times, with the most recent covers being by Kurt Hummel in the TV show Glee and by Big Time Rush for their movie, Big Time Movie, where it was also included on the soundtrack. In 2024, the song was featured in an Uber commercial called On Our Way. There, I've Said It Again is a slower crooner type of a song. In contrast, I Want to Hold Your Hand has more energy with the 4-track recording. It feels higher quality and clearer. It makes the prior song feel older even though they're contemporaries. Personally, I have nostalgia for I Want to Hold Your Hand through a TV commercial that must have aired in the late 90s or early 2000s that sold a Best of the Beatles CD. Charade is a 1963 American romantic screwball comedy mystery film produced and directed by Stanley Donen, written by Peter Stone and Mark Beam, and starring Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. IMDb states, romance and intrigue ensue in Paris as a woman is pursued by several men who want to get their hands on a fortune her murdered husband had stolen. She soon loses trust in those who claim they want to help her. Charade won the following awards: British Academy Awards Best British Actress Audrey Hepburn, David de Donatello Awards Golden Plate, Edgar Allan Poe Awards Best Motion Picture Screenplay, Peter Stone, and was nominated for several others. The movie was remade in 2002 and is called The Truth About Charlie, starring Mark Wahlberg and Thandiwe Newton. In 2022, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It's currently free to watch on Prime Video, Tubi, Xumo Play, Pluto TV, Fandango at Home, Plex, through subscriptions on Friendly TV, YouTube, Fubo TV, YouTube TV Philo, and available to buy on Google TV and Apple TV. Oddly, you can find the full film on its Wikipedia page under the plot section. We already covered The Adventures of Spunky and Tadpole, Noggin the Nog, The Bugs Bunny Show in previous episodes, so since you're keeping up with the podcast, you already know all about them. Top Cat is an American animated sitcom produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions and originally broadcast in prime time on the ABC network that aired for 30 episodes. Life in a New York alley was never as much fun as in this 1961 animated series that follows the many get-rich-quick schemes of a band of streetwise felines. Top Cat, a clever hustler whose close friends get to call him TC, leads his faithful followers Benny the Ball. Choo Choo, Brain, Fancy, and Spook in assorted scams, gambling activities, and harebrained stunts, all in the pursuit of a fast dollar. Keeping an eye on things is Officer Dibble, a beat cop who has his hands full trying to break up TC's shenanigans. Top Cat was created as a parody of The Phil Silvers Show, a successful military comedy whose lead character, Sergeant Bilko, played by Silvers, was a fast-talking con artist. The show was a ratings failure in prime time, but became successful when repeated on Saturday morning television. The show also became popular in Latin American countries, especially Mexico, and the United Kingdom. The show is available to buy on YouTube, Prime Video, and Apple TV. We already covered Chatter Telephone and Mousetrap in previous episodes, so since you're keeping up with the podcast, you already know all about them. The Easy Bake Oven is a working toy oven introduced in 1963 and manufactured by Kenner and later by Hasbro. The original toy used a pair of ordinary incandescent light bulbs as a heat source. Current versions use a true heating element. Kenner sold 500,000 Easy Bake Ovens in the first year of production. Usually seen as a girl's toy, in 2002 Hasbro released the Queasy Bake Cookerator to cater to a young boy audience. Its slogan was, "Looks gross, tastes great." Army men, or plastic soldiers, are toy soldiers that are about 5 centimeters, 2.0 inches tall, and most commonly molded from low-density polyethylene plastic, which makes them durable and flexible. Army men are traditionally solid green or tan and molded with 20th century uniforms and weapons. Tin soldiers were produced in Germany as early as the 1730s, being made of metal, and the first American plastic ones were made by Bergen Toy and Novelty Company in 1938. Unlike the more expensive toy soldiers available in hobby shops, Army men are sold at low prices in discount stores and supermarkets. Army men have a popular video game series first introduced by 3DO in the 1990s and are minor characters in the Toy Story franchise. The Stephen King short, Battleground, features plastic army men who come alive with sinister intentions. They've also been referenced in the 2013 Spanish horror comedy film Witching and Bitching as skins in Heroes of the Storm, and Russian masked soldiers operating inside Ukraine during the 2014 annexation of Crimea by the Russian Federation became known as Little Green Men in reference to the green plastic toy soldiers. If you're familiar with either songs or the top movie, let me know. On the Spotify app on phone and PC, there's now a comment section. You can do it there or on social media. That's a taste of what the world was like when Fantastic Four issue 25 was released.
Ow, I hurt myself changing this tire!
I'm reading this thanks to Marvel Epic Collection The Incredible Hulk Volume 1, Man or Monster, but it's also available via Mighty Marvel Masterworks Fantastic Four Volume 3. It started on Yancey Street. Marvel Epic Collection Fantastic Four Volume 2, The Master Plan of Doctor Doom, and honestly several others, but the Epic Collections are probably the best to buy physically. The story was written and edited by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, inked by George Roussos, and lettered by Sam Rosen. The cover shows a building on fire in the background, another destroyed, the Human Torch with his flames extinguished, Sue on the ground reaching forward, Mr. Fantastic defensively covering his face and body with a huge crowd of people watching in awe behind them. Front and center, the Thing and the Hulk battling, about to throw punches at each other. The Thing looks to have just freed a hand from restraints. On the left side above the city is a pointy word bubble that says, "A Marvel Super Spectacular." After the Fantastic Four title is a red text box that says, "This is the big one, The Incredible Hulk versus the Thing." Under that is a yellow text box that says, "Page after page of pulse-pounding thrills." At the bottom left is a blue text box that says, "Bringing the Marvel Age of Comics to a lofty new pinnacle of greatness." At the bottom right is a pointy word bubble that says, "The Battle of the Century." In this story, Banner is again referred to as Bob Banner. At this point, his name is only Bruce Banner. Calling him Bob Banner in this issue was an error on the part of writer Stan Lee. When this mistake was pointed out in the letter pages of Fantastic Four number 28, Stan declared that Banner's legal name was Robert Bruce Banner. While often things in letter pages were dismissed in continuity, this was one of those rare cases where it has become part of long-running continuity. Hulk is notably larger than the Thing in this issue. When they last fought in Fantastic Fantastic Four issue 12, Hulk was maybe a head taller, but their builds were similar. On the cover, Hulk is now maybe 1.5 or 2 heads taller with a build that's twice the size of the thing's. Unfortunately, there's no About This Issue section on the Marvel Unlimited app for this issue. After the break, we'll summarize the issue. What it do, guys? Mandrame here, and if you like board games, especially deck building games, you should check out at Team_Thunder on YouTube. There we have unboxings and games of Legendary, a Marvel deck building game, the DC deck building game, the Transformers deck building game, and many more. That's where you can find VODs for this, Accelerated Visions, a Spider-Man 2099 podcast, and Water Damage, an Aquaman podcast where you can directly leave a comment and we can discuss the issues.
No, not the Hulk. Not now.
The Fabulous Fantastic Four present The Battle of the Century, the Hulk versus the Thing. Our pulse-pounding double-length tale begins in the headquarters of the FF, where we find Reed holding a vial, having stretched his body beyond the corner of a building to reach the Thing, who is climbing some machinery. Ben, come back, stop acting like a kid. Let me explain. Thing looks back at him saying, knock it off, rubberhead. Keep away or I'll clobber ya. In the background, Human Torch aflame spinning his fire lasso. Step aside, Reed, I'll get him for you. Sue has been knocked to the ground and says, stay out of it, Johnny. It's between Ben and Reed. Reed holds the vial in front of Ben. Ben, old friend, you've got to drink this. I discovered the formula accidentally. I may never be able to duplicate it. I know it'll turn you back to Ben Grimm. Permanently. Thing scratches his head. How many times do I have to tell ya? I won't do it. He jumps down to the ground. Sue stands up saying, think what Reed is doing for you, Ben. If you stop being the Thing, we lose 1/4 of our strength. And still he wants you to drink it. Ben turns his back. I'm warning ya. Stop bugging me. Sue thinks, I wonder why the Thing is so stubborn. Reed approaches Thing. But Ben, if you don't drink it soon, it'll lose its potency. We may never get another opportunity like this again. Ben backhands the vial out of Reed's hand, shattering it. I wasn't kidding. Alicia loves me this way. How do I know how she'll feel about me if I become just plain Ben Grimm? Enraged, Reed says, you mule-headed nitwit! It isn't your ridiculous appearance she loves. It's you, although I can't see why. Okay, my personal life is one thing you ain't gonna butt into, and don't forget it, big man. From the point of view outside the Baxter building, Ben says, if you ever find a formula that'll let me change back and forth from Ben Grimm to the Thing at will, I'll drink it. But I don't want to give up being the Thing. Do you read me? Johnny says, uh-oh, knock it off, you guys. Here comes Alicia. Still aflame, Johnny sits in midair and extends a finger, blowing out a flame and making a fireball. Alicia comes in and Sue greets her. Hello, Alicia dear, what a pleasant surprise. With Reed in front of him, looking over the spilled solution, Thing says, hi, honey. We were just, talking about ya. Say, what's that you're carrying? She holds out a roll of paper. It's the late edition of the paper. The newsboy was shouting extra, and I thought I'd ask one of you to read it to me. Reed walks up to her, pointing. I could have told you what it was, Alicia. The news just came in over the radio. Ben puts hand on Alicia's shoulder and turns to Reed. Look, why don't you go inside and polish a test tube or something? Sue walks up. Let me have it, dear. I'll read it to you. Oh, it's about the disappearance of the Hulk. Ironically, Johnny says, yeah, Captain America took his place in the Avengers. The front of the Post Bulletin reads, Avengers return to U.S. Seek Hulk here after epic battle overseas. Hulk vanishes as Captain America replaces him in ranks of Avengers. Close up on Sue's eyes, imagine, even the combined might of the Avengers couldn't stop the Hulk. There's an asterisk after that sentence and in a pink text box at the bottom of the panel with a message from the editor that reads, refer to the Avengers number 3, the Hulk and the Submariner. She continues, it gives me the shivers just to read about him. But what did become of the Incredible Hulk? And how will he affect the Fantastic Four? Let us now switch our scene to a lonely road in New Mexico. A truck is going down a highway when the passenger says, put on the brakes, Sam. There's a boulder in the road ahead. The two get out of the truck and stand in front of the boulder, Sam says. Holy cow, how'd a thing like that get in the middle of the road? Beats me, and what's even worse, how are we gonna move it so we can get by? Suddenly, Hulk splits the boulder in. I'll move it. Like this. The passenger says, It's the Hulk. Hulk walks up and grabs them both by the collar, lifting them into the air. I want a lift. Let me ride in your truck and I'll let you live. The passenger says, sure, we got lots of room. Sam says, yeah, we'd love to have you. Honest. Once the back of the truck is opened, Hulk jumps in and tosses several crates and canned foods. Not enough room. I'll get rid of all this junk, Sam says. It takes 2 hydraulic lifts over an hour to do what he just did in a second. The drive off with several crates left in the road, smoking. The passenger says, Sam, what do we do now? What if we come to a roadblock? We'll worry about that later. Right now, just drive like you got a live atom bomb back there, because we practically do. And in the rear of the truck, the Incredible Hulk lies silently, wrapped in his own strange thoughts. Until he says, "What happening? I feel different." He grabs his throat. His skin starts losing the green. Feel weaker. Changing. Oh no. I don't want to change. No. Almost all the green has left him. Can't stop myself. Too late. I'm becoming Bob Banner again. My limitless strength. It's leaving me. Finally, a short time later, the truck is stopped by the PD on motorcycles. One gets in front of the truck, hailing them down. "Hold it, buddy. We're stopping all vehicles at this point." Another PD standing back says, "The Hulk's supposed to be in this area, and we can't take any chances. You didn't happen to pass him, did you?" From inside the truck, Sam says, "Who? Pass the Hulk?" The four go to the back of the truck. One of the PD reaches out. "Wait, look, someone just ran out of the back of the truck. He's heading for the hills." The other PD holding a gun says, "Let him go, Joe. He's just a bum. Must have sneaked into the truck at their last stop. He's not what we're after." And as the truck driver stares, speechless, at the retreating figure of the slender man who flees from the vehicle that the Hulk had occupied, Dr. Bob Banner, all but unrecognizable, stumbles along the rocky crags leading to the Hulk's underground hideout. As he walks along the rocks, he says, "I've got to reach the underground shelter. Find Rick. He can help me." Where the Hulk is tireless, Bob Banner is exhausted. Where the Hulk shuns human companionship, Bob Banner needs the help of the one teenager who shares his awesome secret. What's happening to me? Why do I change so often? Why can't I control the changes? The left side of his body starts turning green. This may be the last time I'll have the identity of Bob Banner, for the changes keep coming more often, and each time the Hulk gets stronger. In fact, I can feel myself changing now. Fully transformed, he peeks behind a corner. I know it now. The Hulk is the master, the dominant one, and that's as it should be. No one on Earth is as strong as the Hulk. No one. He leaps. Only the Hulk has leg muscles so strong that when I jump into the air, they push me hard enough to leap for miles. As he moves forward, he holds out his arms like he's flying. There's what I'm after. My underground cave. The Hulk is home at last. Meantime, the powerful Avengers have been following the damage-studded trail of the Incredible Hulk, and just a few miles away, Rick stands by with Giant Man looking through crates and Wasp flying around with a helicopter in the background. Captain America holds his chin with a hand. Only the Hulk could have done this. He can't be far away. Thor touches a box with his hammer and asks, "But why would he have strewn all these heavy crates along the road?" Iron Man takes flight. "Let's get back to the helicopter while the trail is still warm." Rick says he must be heading for his secret underground lab. Cap asks, "Lab? You make him sound like a scientist, Rick. Don't ask me anymore. I can't tell you. I've sworn never to reveal his secret, no matter what." Meanwhile, in the underground hiding place which Dr. Banner had built, the Hulk smashes to smithereens every intricate scientific device he can find. Using the shaft of the transforming ray as a club, he destroys the hard work of his human counterpart. I hate Bob Banner. I never want to change back to him again. What good is all his science? All his work? My strength can destroy it all. Nothing can stand up to the fists of the Hulk. He puts his hands in his pockets. I'll empty my pockets. Get rid of every last trace of Bob Banner. Banner is dead. Long live the Hulk. He unfolds a piece of paper he finds. What's this? A newspaper clipping. Why did Banner carry it? It mentions the Avengers. They've replaced me with someone named Captain America. Close up on his face. That's why Rick isn't here. He's deserted me too, but no one does that to the Hulk. I'll go back to New York. I'll destroy the Avengers forever. Ironically, the Hulk and the Avengers pass within 1 mile of each other, each going in a different direction, and neither is at all aware of the other's presence due to the dark and starless night. The Avengers helicopter going to the right and the Hulk leaping to the left. Mile after endless mile, the tireless Hulk covers in powerful, distance-swallowing leaps until 24 hours later, he leaps past the Washington Bridge, New York at last. Now for the Avengers, and my final revenge. At that moment, Sue finds a reed that has passed out onto his desk. Beakers shattered and liquid spilling to the floor. Sue reaches out. "Ben, Johnny, something's happened to Reed." They arrive and Ben carries Reed. Sue asks, "What is it, Ben? What's wrong with him?" "I don't know, kid, but he's in a coma, and he feels like he's burning with fever." Johnny says, "He's been working with viruses? I wonder..." They get Reed to a bed and put a rag over his forehead. Holding a thermometer, Sue says, "Reed, my darling, speak to me. No use." He doesn't hear. "Johnny, get a doctor. Fast." Ben says, "Come on, String Bean, don't scare us like this, here." Johnny, flying in the Fantastic Four's combined vehicle, says, "Instead of phoning him, I'll fly to the dock in the Fantasticar and bring him right back with me." As he flies, he notices something ahead. Say, that old abandoned building down below. It's collapsing. Well, I can't stop and gape at it now.
Gamma wave!
Gape means to stare with your mouth wide open, usually in surprise or amazement.
Gamma tsunami!
But then, Johnny Storm sees something which makes him realize he must stop. The building didn't just collapse. It was smashed down. And there's the one responsible. It's the Hulk. True to his words, the Hulk is on top of the building punching down parts of it, while facing a fleeing crowd. He jumps from the Fantastic Car and lights himself up. I'll have to go after the Hulk. Reed would want it this way. Too many innocent lives may be in danger. Flame on! He flies up. Wow, he's really on a rampage. Maybe I can slow him down with a shower of molten bricks. He does so to no effect. No, it's no good. His skin is so strong, he doesn't even seem to feel the heat. Oh, he sees me. From off-screen, the Human Torch says he's grabbing a lamppost, as if it's made of cardboard, but why? A moment later, he gets his answer. He's trying to hit me with it, to use it like a giant fly swatter. Well, I'll just melt it down into nothing. But before the torch's flame can finish its job, the Hulk uses the still solid portion of the lamppost to strike the ground, setting up a shock wave by the force of the impact, a shock wave which catches the unprepared Torch. Whom? He's knocked off his feet. Oh! Losing consciousness as a result of the shock, the Torch's flame grows weak enough for the Hulk to grab him with his two bare hands. He lifts Torch up. Got you! The flames go out. He's just a kid. Not worth wasting time on. I've got to find the Avengers. They're the ones I want. Meanwhile, with the threat of the most powerful creature on Earth hanging over New York, the police take extreme measures to protect the innocent populace. One orders people, get to your homes, stay indoors, wait for further word via radio and TV. Civilians flee from inside a PD car. One policeman makes a call. He stopped the Torch. Where are the rest of the Fantastic Four? One of the fleeing civilians says, run, run. If the Torch couldn't stop him, who can? Within seconds, the news of the awesome menace is broadcast throughout the nation. With several cameramen with television equipment and cameras looking on, a man in blue using a mic says, attention, attention, this is the Commissioner. Do not panic. Repeat, do not panic. The entire Midtown section has been evacuated. The police have the area cordoned off. The Fantastic Four are now being summoned. Do not panic. And at FF headquarters, Ben answers the phone. But we can't come now. Reed's sick. He needs us. Sue is putting another rag on Reed's head. If only the doctor would get here. Reed sicks up. You must go, Ben. Forget me. Ben walks back to the bedroom. The Comish said the Hulk knocked Johnny out. They need us. Sue worries. Johnny, at the mercy of the Hulk. Oh no. Relax, kid. He's okay. The Hulk's after something else. Back to lying down, Reed says, Ben, listen. My life isn't important compared to the threat of the Hulk. You've got to leave me. The city needs you. He must be stopped. It's your duty. I'll hang on somehow. I'm still not helpless. Just weak. Now go, both of you. Do you hear me? Go! Sue puts her hand over her mouth in worry. Reed's tires sitting up. One thing more. Be careful, Ben. We know the extent of your strength, but the Hulk's has never been measured. I'm afraid he's far stronger than you, old friend. You'll need your wits. Don't let him grab you. And Sue, remain invisible. Don't take any chances, my darling. And remember, I love you. She responds, Oh, Reed, you sound as though this is goodbye. Minutes later, a squad car nears the roped-off area. The policeman driving tells them, We don't want to use atomic weapons if we can help it. But if he's too much for you, Thing, back away. We'll be waiting for your signal to step in. Don't worry about me, pal. He's the one who's gonna need the flowers. Sue says, You've got to get a doctor for Reed while we're gone. From the car, they see Johnny standing up with his right hand on fire, trying to stop the Hulk. Sue says, Look, there they are. Johnny's recovered consciousness, but why doesn't he run? Thing says, Gotta hand it to the kid. He's trying to flame on again, but he hasn't a chance. Sue says, Ben, let me try him first, with my invisible force screen. That won't hold the Hulk, Sue. Wait, come back. Hulk says, Others are coming. He grabs hold of Johnny. I'll toss you at them, like a bowling ball. He lifts Johnny into the air with one hand. As Sue approaches, Johnny says to her, Sue, stay back. You don't realize his strength. She reaches forward and says, It doesn't matter, Johnny. I can protect you by throwing an invisible force screen around you. Until you can flame on again, you're helpless in his hands. Thing makes it through the crowd and army men at the perimeter. Get back, Sue. Let me tackle him my way. The force shield forces Hulk to set down Johnny. Unable to make contact, he says, Something I can't see is stopping me from touching the kid. But whatever it is, invisible or not, I'll find a way to smash it. I'm still the Hulk. Sue, keeping the shield up, thinks, Can't maintain the screen much longer. He's pressing so hard against it. He's so strong. Then, suddenly, the Incredible Hulk makes a totally unexpected move. He grabs hold of the force shield with Johnny inside it and jumps up, saying, "I'll leap into the air. I'll find a way to break through this unseen shield up here." From the ground below, Sue says, "Oh no, he's getting out of range. Can't maintain my force field at such a distance, but mustn't fail Johnny. The strain, too great." Oh. She collapses with the thing catching her. The strain was too much for her. She fainted. "Now it's up to me." He calls out to a nearby soldier, "Here, soldier, take care of her, here. I got me a little job to do right now." A soldier runs up to the thing, reaching out to Sue. "We'll look after her. But if you fail too, then we're moving in. We'll hit him with everything we've got." Finally, as the Hulk returns to Earth with his helpless prisoner, the two Titans confront each other, heralding the start of one of the greatest hand-to-hand battles in recorded history. Now holding Johnny, Hulk lands saying, "The Thing." Thing points at him. "So, you remember me, huh?" There's an asterisk after the sentence, and at the bottom of the panel is a red text box from the editor that says, "The two foes first me in FF number 12. Thing continues, "Well, this time I'm gonna make sure you never forget me." Close up on the Hulk's face. "You mean nothing to me. It is the Avengers I want to destroy, but if I must smash you first, then smash you I will." Great speech, sonny boy. Now put your money where your mouth is. They engage in a collar and elbow tie-up. Crash. Hulk says, "Fool, you are just a muscular freak, but I'm the Hulk. I'll remember those words, playmate. They'll look great carved on your headstone." Though smaller, the Thing is more agile, faster moving than the lumbering Hulk, and so he lands the first blow, a thunderous haymaker which sends his huge foe crashing through an abandoned warehouse wall. "This'll show you you're not playing with kids now." But the Hulk merely shrugs off the impact and charges back into battle, filled with a mad, insatiable rage. As he stretches out his hands to break through the portion of wall that had fallen on him, he says, "And now, it's my turn." He runs to the Thing. Thing thinks, My best bet is try to tire him out before tangling with him again. Thing says, "Ain't you embarrassed to go around with that antisocial attitude all the time?" Thing then thinks, I'll let him take one more step, then duck out of the way. A smart cookie like me ought to be able to rattle him." Thing runs, putting an uptown bus between the two. From one side, Hulk says, "What are you running away for? I'll get you sooner or later. You can't hide from me behind an empty bus." From the other side of the bus, Thing says, "It's for your own protection, Junior. I'm afraid I might clobber you too hard and spoil those handsome features." Fed up, Hulk rips the empty bus in half. "Try to make fun of the Hulk, will you? You'll soon regret that." Thing backs up and holds a hand up in defense and thinks, "Whew, anemic he ain't." Seizing the fallen bus tires, the Hulk hurls them at his enemy, and in the hands of such a behemoth, the tires, flying at almost the speed of sound, become as dangerous as the deadliest missiles. Despite this, Thing is able to duck one, saying, "Nice try, kiddo, but a Whitey Ford you'll never be. All you're doing is causing a draft."
Gamma wave!
Whitey Ford was one of the greatest pitchers in Major League Baseball history, best known for his legendary career with the New York Yankees.
Gamma tsunami!
With the distance closed while Hulk is holding a tire, Thing punches through it, sending the hub crashing into Hulk's chest. Thing says, "I feel sorry for you now, Hulk, because you made me mad. Me, who's never been known to lose his temper before." But moving with surprising speed for one so huge, the Hulk lashes out and he grabs Thing by the wrist. "Ha! Now I've got you." Oof. His grip is so strong it causes Thing to fall to one knee before the Hulk. "Where are your wisecracks now, Thing? Your insulting remarks? Where's the strength you always brag about? Maybe I left him in my other suit. Hey, Lego, that's the hand I eat pizza with." Still holding on, Hulk says, "I'll let go. Right after I leap way up to get the force I need." And then, leaping into the air causes Thing to lose his balance. While airborne, Hulk throws the Thing with the momentum he's gained. "There. You're free. Free to go hurtling into the air. And when you land, it'll be your finish." Thing is launched to a building. Wow, he ain't kiddin'. Good thing I was able to grab this roof edge. Something tells me that Crumb isn't going to be as easy to clobber as I thought. Hulk goes to the bottom of that building and puts his hands on the window pane, saying, "He saved himself by grabbing the roof, but I'll shake him off, like I'd shake a rotten apple off a tree." The entire building begins to shake back and forth. Still holding on to the edge, Thing says, "Hey, cut it out. A guy could get airsick like this." The building moves forward quickly. Holy smoke. I better jump off here before that nut wrecks the whole blamed building. He jumps down toward Hulk. "Okay, Melvin, if you want me, just stay where you are." Geronimo. But at the last split second, the Incredible Hulk steps back, while he lashes out with his two mighty arms, catching the Thing before he can strike the ground. Holding Thing by the arm and left, Hulk says, "Did you think I'd let you land on me? No. I have other plans for you." He grabs a manhole cover and says, First, I'll drop you into this manhole, and if it's too tight a fit, I'll just force you in. Like this. He slams Thing through the hole. Wham! While halfway through the hole, Thing can see what's underground and reaches out while thinking, it's the best thing he could have done. I'll just grab a handful of electric cables and yank him out. Hulk has pushed Thing's entire body and even up to his bicep into the ground. Hulk says, he's been trapped there long enough. Now I'll pull him out and finish him off. What's that I feel being pressed against my hand? He stands up, pulling out a bundle of wires. His body is engulfed in yellow and smoke comes off of it. He says, live electric wires. Millions of volts. He tricked me. Meantime, at FF headquarters, the TV has been left on with the newscaster telling the sale in real time. The Hulk has taken enough voltage to light up Times Square, but it only slowed him down for a minute. Reed crawls from the other room to get in front of the TV. I've got to help Ben. He can't beat the Hulk alone. He's going about it all wrong. Hulk is too strong. He's got to outsmart him. Too weak. Can't make it. He turns on his back, looking upward. But I must. He needs me. Can't quit now. Reed crawls to the window with an arm outside the window looking out. He says, maybe if I can make it to window, get some air, it'll revive me. Give me strength. With bangs under his eyes, he stretches out his left hand. I've got to stretch. Reach out, 'cause a diversion down below. Thing needs time to get a plan. He collapses, putting his head down on the windowsill. Everything going around, blacking out. Why? What's wrong with me? Why did it have to happen now? If only... Oh, and there, high above the scene of battle, his body racked with fever, the valiant Mr. Fantastic lapses into a helpless coma. His iron will no match for the disease which has claimed him. While on the street below, the two super antagonists face each other anew. Thing makes his face out of the ground. Hey, you still here? I thought they'd have carted you away by now. Hulk's getting back to his feet, with the bundle safely behind him. You thought a few electric wires could stop me? You wasted the few precious seconds which I allowed you. But you won't get a chance like that again. At that moment, a scant 2 blocks away, a few determined onlookers break through the barricade and locate a medium-sized truck. 2 men are pushing a truck on South Drive, Yancey Street. One person says, okay, she's in gear, back her down the hill, hurry. The other person replies, the Thing's gonna need this interruption. We don't mind needling him, but we're not letting anyone else pulverize our favorite whippin' boy. The truck makes its way downhill and scoops up an unwary Hulk and ready Thing. One of the civilians say, bullseye. It'll carry the Hulk clean down to the docks and into the river. That ought to give the Thing the break he needs. But the desperate plan of the Yancey Street gang misfires, for the Thing hands on for grim life, and is carried along too. The backwards bound truck knocks over a vegetable cart with one army man jumping in front of others, warning, don't shoot, you'll hit the Thing. Another army man says, alert all units, they are headed for the Hudson River. And as the runaway vehicle careens off the pier, the two battling powerhouses plunge into the water depths. Once underwater, Thing thinks, the Hulk's trying to hold me under. He knows his lungs are stronger than mine. He can go without air longer. I've got to bust loose. Just time for one fast judo blow. It's got to work. Here goes. Once free, Thing makes a break for the surface, thinking, made it. But he ain't gonna hang around and applaud. I've got to reach the surface before he grabs me again. He's able to make enough distance to get to a boat far before Hulk. Thing says, boy, good thing I'm lighter and faster. Hey, this little honey is just what I need. Hulk, still swimming his way, says, you can't escape me that way, Thing. Thing turns on the boat and tries to get away. Using the power of his indescribably muscular legs, the Incredible Hulk leaps after the speeding craft, like an avenging thunderbolt. Without looking back, Thing says, escape you? Are you kiddin'? I'm just trying to give you a chance to surrender before I annihilate ya. At just the last second, Thing evades the leaping Hulk. Good thing this baby can turn on a dime. If the Hulk had landed on me then, we might have had us a couple of king-size headaches. Thing looks forward. Looks like I lost him for a while. Might as well head for the Washington Bridge and figure out my next move. He looks back, missing the fact that Hulk's fist rises from the water in front of him. He's not behind me. Wonder what he's booking up. Maybe he went back for his water skis. The two close the distance and Hulk punches through the boat. Crash. Thing says, well, what do you know? Here's little Mary Sunshine now. With both fists up and head above water, Hulk says, come back, you sniveling coward. We'll finish this off right here. Beyond the wreckage, Thing swings away. We'll finish it all right, but I'll pick the spot. And it won't be the water. They make it to a bridge which the Thing starts climbing up. From the water below, Hulk makes a fantastic leap. All right then, the bridge suits me fine. But there's a fast way to reach the top. Much faster than by climbing up. Thing stops where he is and starts to rip off sections of the metal structure. I was hoping you'd do that. Now hang on, Buster. Because this is it. Hulk made it to the top of the bridge, and from down below, an array of the metal pieces of structure start flying at him. From off-panel Thing says, "Here's a few goodies for you to chew on so you don't get bored till I get there." Seconds later, the fighting mad Thing reaches the Hulk as they grab each other in grips of steel. They seem to be hanging off the side of the middle of the bridge overlooking the water. Hulk whines a swing. "Say your prayers, Thing. It's a long way down." Thing puts up a hand. "Why? I ain't going anywhere. You're the one who's gonna take a dive." But slowly, steadily, with ever-increasing pressure, the Hulk's mighty arms force the Thing back, until Hulk is on the top of the bridge and Thing is hanging. Thing says, "I've been relaxed until now, Cuddles, saving my strength, and here's what I'm gonna do with it." With one last superhuman effort, the Thing marshals every ounce of power he possesses, and suddenly, flexing all his muscles at once, he hurls the Hulk back onto the catwalk. After swinging, Thing says, "Know something, pal? You ought to rent yourself out as a human punching bag." Hulk is sent back, caught in wires and a suspension cable. Then, before the dazed Hulk can regain his equilibrium, Thing gets onto the top of the bridge with Hulk and says, "I'll just wrap this cozy little suspension cable around you now so you don't go wandering off and getting into any more trouble. A gizmo like this ought to be able to hold a 20-ton tank without any sweat." Ensnared in the cable, Hulk says, "You're a fool. I'm no tank. I'm the Hulk. Nothing can hold me. I'll snap this cable like a matchstick." While holding the cable, the Thing thinks, "The advantage is mine, because I caught him off balance. He can't get the right leverage to use his muscles." But even so, he's beginning to bend the cable. Can't hold on much longer. Too much of a strain. Getting weak. Tired. But he's stronger than ever. How does he do it? From Thing's point of view, he sees Hulk tensing incredible muscles. Thing thinks, "He's increasing the pressure. I'll have to let go. I'm aching all over, but how will I stop him once he gets loose again? He gets stronger every minute." Meantime, back in the Baxter building, having recovered from her ordeal, Sue Storm rushes to the side of Mr. Fantastic. Sue goes to Reed that's holding onto a wall trying to get up. She says, "Reed, I brought the doctor, but you're out of bed. You mustn't." "Sue, I have to help Ben." Sue helps Reed walk back to the bed. The doctor is behind them and says, "You're in no condition to help anyone, Richards. Get him off his feet, Miss Storm." She says to Mr. Fantastic, "Oh, Reed, I'm so worried. Johnny was taken to the hospital, and you're terribly ill. Ben can't hold out much longer against the Hulk, and I feel so helpless." Reed puts a hand over his forehead. He says, "I know, my darling, I must do something. If only I could clear my head, stop the room from spinning." They get Reed under the covers, and the doctor uses his stethoscope and looks at Sue, who is sitting on a nearby chair. He says to Sue, "Miss Storm, he is the victim of some unknown virus. There is nothing I can do for him now. He needs complete rest. I warned him against working with those strange microbes, those untested formulae." She says, "He only did it for the Thing. He wanted to help him, to enable him to become Ben Grimm at will." The doctor says, "Well, I'll give him a sedative. See that he keeps calm, and pray that his fever goes down." She put her hands over her mouth. "Keep him calm? At a time like this? When everything is going against us? Oh, Reed, my darling, I never realized how much I love you, need you." The doctor puts on his hand and picks up his bag. "I've got to go now. With the Hulk still at large, there's no telling where I'll be needed next." Sue goes to the television set and says, "I'd almost forgotten. The Thing is still battling him. I'll turn on the TV, although I'm almost afraid to find out." Sue tunes the TV to the news. On the screen is an army man pointing to the bridge. The battle is still raging atop the Washington Bridge. But although the Thing is fighting valiantly, he seems to be weakening. Wait, something is happening. Stand by. We're training our zoom lens on the bridge, trying to get a close-up image. Now we can see. The Hulk has broken free. Back to the scene where Thing is still holding the suspension cable, thinking, "Can't keep up the pressure any longer. Got to stop. Rest my arms. Just for a minute." Hulk stretches out his arms and legs, breaking free of the suspension cable. And now, to finish what I started, relentlessly, tirelessly, the Incredible Hulk rains blow after blow upon his weary foe as the Thing refuses to surrender, refuses to heed the anguish of his nearly exhausted body. You'll never defy the Hulk again. He throws a straight punch, bam, sending the Thing flying backwards. Thing stands up and Hulk punches him again, saying, "Bah, I'm growing bored with this. You're too weak to fight back. I've no more time to waste on you." He turns his back on Thing, who doubles over. Hulk says, "I've more important work to do. I'll tear the city apart brick by brick if I have to find the Avengers. And now, there's nothing that can stop me, Beyond the fight area are several armed soldiers with guns and even a rocket launcher and grenades. One says, "This is it, men. Steady now. He's still in the evacuated area, but if he comes any closer, let him have it." A man hiding behind a building looking on says, "What will happen to the city now? Even the Thing couldn't stop him." A man behind him runs away as a man says, "Those small arms won't hold back the Hulk, and they can't use bigger weapons." A woman says, "No, not without blowing up half the city." Hulk punches a wall. "The Avengers, bring them to me before I tear this town apart, do you hear? I want my revenge, and I want it now." And, still glued to the TV, we find Sue puts her hands on the sides of her head, "But the Avengers aren't here. They left New York. They went to the Southwest to look there for the Hulk." A weak Reed walks up, reaching out. "Sue, what about Ben? What happened to him?" Not far away, as if in answer to Reed's question, Thing, still on his knees, admits defeat. "He beat me. That big, brainless, muscle-bound creep beat me. It never happened before." He's able to get on his feet and staggers forward. "Maybe it's what I needed. I was beginning to think I was unbeatable. Boy, what a laugh." He gains his footing. "Well, like my dear old Aunt Petunia used to say, you can only die once, and that's the only way he'll stop me now, by killing me." Concluded next issue. Think you've seen action and drama so far? Wait till you see the wrap-up next ish. The enraged Thing tackles the Berserk Hulk again, and, for added thrills, the Avengers join the battle. It's merely the greatest. After the break, we'll go over some thoughts and feelings about the issue.
What's happening to me?
My darling boy, my Bruce, don't be afraid. Scientists aren't supposed to fear evolution.
My headcanon as to why the Hulk is a different size in this comic is that his power has grown, or maybe he's angrier, and much like in the 2003 Hulk film, the angrier he gets, the stronger and physically larger he gets. Maybe this will be his new base size and power. After his last few appearances, I think he's in need of a power-up to keep up with other heroes and be a threat to the Avengers. Speaking of power, this issue did a much better job of showcasing Hulk's strength than some of the previous issues. Physical feats of strength like jumps or lifting something heavy, no problem. It's normally fights with other super people that Hulk sometimes doesn't feel like the strongest there is. In the Hulk and Thing's first fight, they were about equal, and we got a did not finish, due to the Wrecker hitting Hulk with a laser. Once again, people talked about Hulk being more powerful than ever, but we finally see him beat another hero, not clean per se. Thing was on the run for most of the fight, showing the danger of the Hulk. But not a huge power difference, but at the end, Thing straight up admits he lost. Though it did seem like going into the next issue, he'll rally and turn things around, probably with the help of a recovered Reed. Reed was big in pushing Hulk as a threat in this issue and was mysteriously sick due to having worked on a concoction that would depower the Thing. It'd be cool if side effects of this were mentioned in later issues, but FF lore is definitely not my forte. It was interesting that Thing turned down the cure to his condition, whereas in many depictions, he sees his powers as a curse since the rest of the members can just turn them off when he can't. His reasoning makes sense though, being that he knows Alicia loves Thing but doesn't know if she'd love his human form. It could have been a good plot point for Alicia to tell Thing she loves him for his personality rather than his powers, but Reed just tells him. In context it makes sense because of course she loves him for who he is rather than what he is, but from Thing's perspective, finding a significant other is much harder to do. Fast forward to 2006 in Marvel Adventures, Fantastic Four, number 17, and we see something similar happen. In this issue, Thing routinely feels like a monster, hates his looks, and saves a woman. After saving her, she seems to grow feelings for him, but at the end of the issue, she reveals she owns a company and made up the scenario that he saved her from so her workers could get Thing's skin samples because they could make her company a lot of money, and really sunk in the knife by saying, "Oh, come on, you didn't actually think I liked you. What do I look like, some kind of freak?" The panel where Hulk breaks free of the wall that had fallen on him reminds me of the scene in the Saiyan saga of Dragon Ball Z, where Vegeta does the same. I couldn't find the episode number, but when I was younger I collected the training cards and that one was called Saiyan Training. I'll probably share the image of the card on X or Instagram. That being said, I know that Akira Toriyama loves sci-fi by extension. American media. Frieza's third form looks like an alien, and Bulma in her underwear, while en route to Namek, takes direct inspiration from Ripley from, again, Alien. I don't think it's impossible to say Akira didn't take inspiration from American superhero comics, but to say it's from this specific panel is unlikely. Very interestingly, the first character to say that Captain America replaced Hulk in the Avengers is Human Torch, which is poetic since Chris Evans first played the Human Torch. Prior to the MCU, then played Captain America once it got started. More recently, he's gone back to play Human Torch again in Deadpool and Wolverine. Read the comic. Did I get something wrong? If I do and you guys let me know, I'll include a correction section in the next episode and I'll credit the user. Let's continue the discussion on social media and the YouTube VOD. You can find me at MandrameThunder on Twitter and at Team_Thunder on YouTube. If you're looking for another podcast to listen to and you're a Spider-Verse fan, then check out Accelerated Visions, a Spider-Man 2099 podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you can find podcasts. If DC is more your thing and you want to hear about Aquaman, King of the Seven Seas, check out Water Damage, an Aquaman podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you can find podcasts. Be sure to follow those in this podcast to get episodes as soon as they drop. Mandrame out.
What time up mean?